Alrighty. My name's Clay. I'm the founder of Sobriety Hub software for sober livings, and I'm here today with my friend Brandon Fitch. Brandon is the founder of the Retreat Sober Living, located down in Aurora, Kentucky. It's good to have you, Brandon. How you doing?
Hey, I appreciate that. I'm doing good. It's Friday. We're ready for the weekend. Glad to be on here. Glad that you gave me the opportunity to come on here and talk.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm excited. So just to get us started, what kind of inspired you to work in, the field of addiction and sober living?
Well, I mean, it's when it comes down to it, it's just lived experience. I'm a person in long-term recovery, and a while back, several years ago, I was left with absolutely nothing. I left myself with absolutely nothing, and it was the people along the way that helped me out and allow me with a place to stay or transitional living um, that inspired me and it helped me get on my feet. It was that support network that helped me get on my feet, and it was also that slow transition into reality that helped me break into society a little bit smoother. So that's, that experience alone, meant that I needed to give back at the same time, because there's so many people out there that need help. There's so many people out there that need affordable living. Um, those are all huge aspects as to why we decided to open this place.
Gotcha. And I understand that the retreat is unique in terms of kind of having a pretty remote location. Can you talk about why you chose to start the house a little bit further away from society and what kind of value that brings?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the term retreat itself, it means a couple different things: to pull back from enemy lines, and
Mm,
to regroup. It also means to just kind of get away. So the idea is to provide a safe space for everybody looking for a better life, without the use of drugs and alcohol, and to get away from temptations. Because early on in recovery, even if you've been through a 28-day program or a 6-month program, when you walk out of those doors, um, you might be faced with temptation. If that liquor store is right around the corner, or if that old hangout is right down the road, you know how it is for us. We may be turning down that driveway before we even realize it. Um, we wanted to give them an opportunity to be somewhere a little bit further away, in a beautiful location that's wooded, within a 15-minute walk from the lake. That way they can just settle down, and focus on what's next.
right on. And are there support groups or IOPs in that area, or is kind of most of the recovery meetings within the house?
They're within the house. They're hosted within the house, but there's also support groups within about 7 to 10 minutes away, no matter which way you go. So it is just far enough away from everything. Um, and I try to compare it. I drive to work every day and it takes me about 20 minutes, right? And the only difference between what they're doing and what I'm doing is there's just a lot less stuff in between those point A's and point B's. Uh,
Gotcha.
so that's how it's kind of a break away from society a little bit. But yeah, there's plenty of meetings out there. I'm grateful enough to work for another company where we work in recovery, and we can actually send peer support specialists out there to work with them about once a week too. So not only are they able to get to some meetings back and forth, but we have a great team at my other job, and a peer support specialist goes out there and connects them to jobs, food stamps, insurance, how to sign up for school and college. So all those basic needs, those pillars that support recovery: home, health, purpose, and community. They're able to help guide them through that process and just talk with them on occasion too.
Gotcha. Okay. So you kind of have a little bit of a synergy with kind of your current workplace, and I understand it's an RCO, and you've got some of those kind of support things. What other components of the retreat would you say are unique or add structure or add accountability? I mean, in addition to the classic things like drug testing? What kind of other services do you guys provide?
Of course, we're going to get them back and forth to work and meetings, so transportation as far as that's concerned. The structure itself, we try to utilize some of those level two housing structures, if you're familiar with those.
Gotcha.
Um, where we work with them in groups, so they're able to hold each other accountable. They don't always like that, right?
Hmm.
But they get to hold each other accountable. They get to work with each other about breaking through behavioral issues, or if a person might be hanging out with a friend or an old friend, they get to address those as well. Like, hey, I don't think this person is a good fit, or maybe this person isn't good for you. Like not necessarily personality conflicts, but maybe they might be using, right? Um, so they're able to hold each other accountable in those ways. Of course, they have, the structured chores and learning to live through daily life with responsibilities as well. So we try to make it as much of a home as possible, where they have certain rules and guidelines, certain curfews, but we try not to be too um, dominant as far as that's concerned, meaning they have that sense of freedom, um, as well. So, yeah,
Sure. Yeah, it's kind of a balance, right? In terms of like detox and inpatient is really nothing like a home.
right,
And
right.
so sober living is halfway in between, right? Do you I mean, I know that the sober living's pretty new. Um, but what kind of things do you focus on in terms of like the house environment to really give it that like homey feel? In addition to just kind of having like not overly structured um protocols, but like is there anything else that you do to that kind of facilitate that family feeling?
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, besides all the family feeling aspect, is we put in this huge TV in a family room area. The kitchen's connected to it. They're able to kind of congregate in there as well, play cards. We actually have plans to get pink. We have a whole. This used to be an old church, not your traditional style church, but like a
Huh.
building that was just spread out with multiple. It's 5,000 square feet. So we still have what's called the chapel in there too, and we're kind of excited about that. We haven't finished that yet, but it really is a chapel, but it's being rebuilt because it already has a huge projector in there. So we're going to turn that into a movie room as well. Um, little rec room, game room, ping pong tables, all that stuff as well. So I mean, we try to make it again as homey as possible. The majority of everybody there has their own private room. There's only 3 shared rooms in there, and then there's one area that we haven't finished yet, but it's finished. Just we haven't put all the beds in, but it's going to be almost a dorm style. If somebody's not able to afford anything right away, that gives them an option and a place to stay in that dorm area until they're able to get on their feet as well. So we're trying to think ahead and not just be about profit or this, that, and the other. About giving people an opportunity to step up in the process and get into a little bit more private area um, once they achieve certain goals. So, but again, keeping it back to that family atmosphere is really trying to keep them all together. We brought out a bunch of fishing poles out there as well, so a lot of our guys take daily fishing trips. Most of them don't catch much. That's the thing. But they're coming back and cooking fish and having a good time. So I think just having it built and designed and looking like a home is the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, the image that I have in my mind of a remodeled church in the middle of pretty much nowhere. I mean, it sounds like the retreat is a pretty fitting name. Um, Sounds like a great place to begin your recovery journey. Um,
Yeah.
So you mentioned kind of like, building out some more rooms, remodeling the chapel, creating the dorm. What kind of other goals do you have for the future in terms of like um perhaps expanding or having new services? What's kind of the 5-year plan?
5-year plan. I think the 5-year plan is, of course, get the right group of people in there, and of course, learning the whole process. That's been challenging, rewarding, as well. Um, but I think that the 5-year goal is for it to be an absolute place of structure and comfort at the same time, right? We
Hmm.
the place is built on about 5 acres, right on the wood line, as well. Huge area out there. And I say it was a church. It was also used to be a putt golf out back, and they've pulled all those up, but so it's just a big flat area of yard. So we want to put like volleyball nets. There's already a spot for a bonfire out there. Again, and the idea is just to make it. I wouldn't want to say summer campish, but almost kind of like a summer camp where you live, and then you can go to work and come back. That's the goal.
Cool. Cool. Um, I know you guys keep track of, a lot of stuff, the chores, the UAs. And I know y'all have been using Sobriety Hub. How's your experience been with that thus far?
Well, I should start by saying that, and I'm not going to name any of the other companies' names, but I did demos of uh, a lot, 6, 7 different programs just to see what would work best for us, and they all had their caveats, they all had their pros and their cons. Um, but when I got to Sobriety Hub and checked out what that was like, it just, I knew at that moment it was the right fit, because of its simplicity, because of its the look and feel of it, as it was like an app, you know um, made it so easy to use. I at any point in time, because on occasion we deal with folks that are on supervision, probation, parole. Of course, they sign the releases of information for those. We need to be able to look that information up right away, and I can do it from my phone in a really simple, easy process. Um, Keeping track of accomplishments, goals, program notes has been extremely simple too. And I'm really excited that you guys just released something about 2 weeks ago, I think, where you can send them a link and they can fill out their own profile.
Yeah.
So I haven't started using that yet, because most of our people are in treatment, coming out of treatment, so they don't have access to it. But when we come across somebody who's on the streets, um, I think that's going to be really cool because not only can they fill it out and do some of that work for me, right?
Right.
Um, you know, my drive out there from where I live and work right now is 30, 45 minutes. So that just means that there's so much less time that I have to focus on doing that part of it, and it just makes it so much easier. So, I mean, really, it's been awesome. Well, the co-founder, one of my business partners, Brian, he has other houses here in this town, and he has 30 residents over, I think, 5 or 6 houses, and I showed him the app, um, and he just looked at me in bewilderment, that this is going to solve all my problems, because he was trying to remember people's names by their nicknames, or this is, people go by nicknames, and he realized, oh my gosh, this is going to actually help me stay organized in a different way, in a better way. So again, it's just been a blessing, to be honest with you. Keeping track of the payments, keeping track of all those things, who's coming in, who's been discharged, and what is their alumni status, because as you grow, you may forget, what the situation was, so yeah, it's been awesome so far.
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that. I mean, so happy you guys are, using the full the full suite of functionality, and excited for you to check out the new intake feature. Before we wrap up, is there anybody you'd like to kind of acknowledge or shout out that's helped you either in your personal recovery journey, or starting the sober living, or just in general?
There's a lot of people, and I don't want to name them specifically. There's been a lot of people in my corner. It's been the community. If you're watching this or listening to this, I don't know if you do audio too, but if you can just tell one person who's getting into recovery that we've got your back, we're cheerleading for you. It's been the community leaders that have said, hey, we're proud of you. It's been when I go to the dentist and let them know, hey, don't give me any pain meds because I'm in recovery from substance use disorder, and they don't say anything about that aspect. They say, hey, that is awesome that you're in recovery. It's been all those folks, my mentors, Brian, who's the business partner on this, Thelma, who's my boss here at Four Rivers. They've all given people like us a chance, a second, third, fourth, 15th chance. And that just makes a world of difference because, they always say, how many times do you give the addict, the person in recovery, or the person in experiencing substance use disorder another chance? And it's every time, every single time, because it's going to click one time, and that's the important part. And somebody did it for me, and now we get to do it for somebody else.
Heck yeah. Well, I'm so happy you guys are doing what you're doing. And thank you so much for jumping on and sharing your experience. Yeah, excited to get this out to the world once again. The retreat sober living, I think, sounds pretty cool. The remodeled church with the nature surroundings seems like a pretty great place to get sober. So thank you
And memory
for
foam mattresses. Yeah.
and what?
And memory foam mattresses. You can't go wrong with those.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a nice amenity for sure. Yeah. All right, Brandon. Well, thanks so much for jumping on.
Absolutely. Thanks, Clay.